welcome. My name's Sam and this is the Little Greenhouse Creates. Thank you for joining me today and welcome back to Product of the Month. Now, if you didn't see my video this morning, pop back and have a look. It's all about this beautiful designer series paper, specialty designer series paper. It's pearlised. And if you spend £70 in one transaction, you can get yourself a one-time product for £5, and this is this month's product. It is this beautiful paper. There are 12 papers in total, 2 of each design. Right, so we're going to do our first design, and it is this card here. I've incorporated the Heirloom Boutique stamp set to help set the papers off beautifully. So let's bring in our supplies. Okay, there's quite a few, so let's start. We have crumb cake, which is 8 inches by 5 3/4, and that is scored at the 4-inch mark. I then have a piece of Cajun craze. Now this measures 3 3/4 by 5 1/2. And then I have a window sheet. Now this measures 4 inches by 5 1/4. So it's 4 inches by 5 1/4. You'll need a piece of designer series paper that measures around about 4 1/2 inches by 5 1/4. And you're going to cut them into 1/2-inch strips, which I have already done to save time. So there's my strips of designer series paper. Now you don't have to use one, you could use a couple, you could use a few. If you were looking to use up scraps of designer series paper, this is a card that's ideal for it, because you could then layer it as you would like with all the different strips. I then have a piece of Very Vanilla. This measures 3 1/2 by 5 1/4, and I have a scrap piece. So as usual, we will start with our scrap, or our piece of stamping. Our stamping. I'm going to use Early Espresso. I'm going to ink up the flower that you can find in the Heirloom Boutique. Pop that down there. There we are. Oops. I'm also using Have a Fabulous Day. Now that comes from the Sentiment stamp set called Phrases and Frames, and it's Have a Fabulous Day. Let's push that back on there properly. Thank you very much. Okay, and we need to colour this in. And I've got all the colours under the sun. Well, no, I've got all the colours that are in the papers. So you've got Cajun Craze, Pecan Pie, Crumb Cake, and Golden Glow. Once you've coloured them all in, you're going to use the die from the that goes with the Heirloom Boutique. That will fit over here like so. And then I'm introducing very sneakily a new die. Comes from the new catalogue that will be out in September, called Tiled Gardens. And it's all these beautiful squares. So I have used this one, and I will go on there like that. I'm going to run it through the cut and emboss machine, and they will come back looking like this. I've also have a piece of Cajun Craze. Now this measures 1 3/4 by 1 3/4. It is just a touch bigger than the actual sentiment. With the card that I created here, after I stuck it all down, I wondered if it would be better with a colour behind it. So I've brought that colour in here just to see. We'll see if I like it or not as we go along. Okay, so the next thing to do is to take that off, put those aside, and I have my window sheet. You're going to need your multi-purpose glue, and you just need to put a thin layer, and I mean a thin layer, because what you don't want is the glue to seep through and show on the bits where you haven't got DSP. So take your first piece of designer series paper, and then you're going to layer it right up to the edge of the bottom, like so. You will get wiggle room. Okay, so you've got that piece at the bottom like that, and then you're going to take another line what we're looking for is a gap between the papers, and we are adding the designer series paper, not straight line, but not so the bottoms and tops run up. So you could move that over that way a bit, so you've got one longer than the other. Okay, just want to make sure I don't get that glue through. Okay, let's make sure that's lined straight. You could use the help of your grid paper if you want to. Okay, so then I'm going to do another line along here, and then maybe I'm going to go over this way a bit. There we go. Keep that straight, and I'm going to put a line here, and we're just going to build this up as we go. I didn't I did not stick this, so apologies if it takes too long. Just fast forward the video, nobody will know. There we go. Perfect. So you will get about 9-10 strips out of this, and obviously because it's 5 1/4, if you go over the 5 1/4 length, then you'll find that you'll have a few more, but it's about 10 strips that you're looking for. You don't want the gaps too big, and you need to give it a couple of seconds to actually stick down, because obviously on this acetate you will find it does move around. So let's go there. What you do want to make sure is that whatever you do, that the top and the bottom line up. So you need to make sure. So if that doesn't give you a gap, you're going to have to go over slightly. So you're just going to do a line down here. Move that. It's easier to put the glue onto the acetate than it is the paper, because otherwise you will end up with yourself sticking it down to your paper. Okay, so that looks about right. Yeah, the top is straight, there's a gap. Okay, so let's give that a couple of seconds to stick. Then we're going to bring in our trimmer, and we're going to cut it down to 3 1/2 by 5 1/4. Okay, so let's have a look. What I like to do is turn it over. I'm going to line this here to say about 5 3/4. 5 3/4, sorry, 3 3/4. And then I'm just going to run that through, and that will take that bit off, and you can bin it. Turn it round, line this piece up to the 3.5, like so, and then again just run your blade through, and that cuts that piece off. So that's your 3.5, and now you need it to be your 5.25. So my top piece is slightly over, so I'm just going to line it up, and then I can bring in my cutter and just cut straight across, and that will cut that tiny bit off the top that we don't need. And there we have it. We have our beautiful designer series paper window sheet. Now, let's find it. There is my... I just want to make sure that the edges are all flat, because obviously you've cut it with a blade, and on the reverse side. Okay, so that is now done. The next thing to do is to stick it down onto your matte layer. Again, do not stick glue all over it. What you need to do is you need to make sure that the glue is only on the pieces of paper that are already stuck down. Therefore, with the gaps, you don't get, you're not going to get the glue seeping through and it making it, ruining the design. There we go. That will go onto there like so. Again, because it is a window sheet, hold it for a couple of seconds just to make sure that you are comfortable and it's not sliding around. And you have your layer. Now is the time to add your flowers. So this is what it looks like without. And this is what it's going to look like with. I think I'm going with. Right, for this, I'm going to use dimensionals. She says, what have I done with them? Aha, they're just here. Right. I'm just going to stick them just all the way around of the flower. These are the small dimensionals. You can see I'm just almost just filling in the coloured centres that have come through with the blade, with the blend pens. Okay, and that will then stick like that onto there. Let's get my pointy tool. Let me just lift those off. Oops. Okay. There we go. Off you go. Thank you very much. That will sit onto there. Now we're going to layer this onto here. So obviously just on the centre. And then once we've done that, we can turn it over and we can add our dimensionals again onto it. There you are. As you can see, I've put 5 on, which is probably a little too many, but they're only small, so I'm not going to stress. And then I'm just going to pop that there, making sure that you've got a bit of the colour over that bit and over to that bit as well. So that looks evenly spread. And then the only thing we need to do now is to layer this onto our base card, like so. So there we can actually go all the way over without having to stress. Make sure that is layered on straight. And then we have our inside layer. There we go, which just goes inside. And that is our Monday What done with it? It's here. Monday card. I hope you like those. Great fun. I haven't done them for ages. The window sheet. That for me works really well. So do you like it with the backing on the sentiment or without? Which do you think works best? Anyway, I'm back on Wednesday, so do join me then. You put them in the photograph picture, you might be able to see what I'm doing. There we go. Thanks ever so much. I hope to see you soon. Take care. Bye.